Robert Hurd joining us now. Congressman, good to have you with us, sir.
Good morning, John. Thanks so much for having me on your program.
Always a pleasure, and when I go to Chatham, I always stop by your house and get good things to eat from your wife.
You're always welcome, sir.
And I appreciate that. It's the first stop I make when I'm in town. And then she answers the door. She's like, "You're back again?" Yes, I work for food. No question about it. Let's go to sanctuary cities. This tragedy, Congressman, in San Francisco has your colleague, House Judiciary Chairman Bob Goodlatte, outraged. This illegal immigrant deported 5 times, gets out 5 times, gets back to San Francisco, where the local authorities, because the sanctuary city, do nothing. Now this young lady murdered in this tragedy. Something is the matter here.
Well, I couldn't agree with you more. I think the illegal immigration crisis in this country, I think, stems from a failure of elected officials, of other government officials, to follow the rule of law, and that's how it's gotten to be the crisis that it is, and that's how things like this happen. And it's my hope. I should first begin by saying, my heart goes out to the family and all those affected by that violence and the murder of that young lady. But clearly, it seems to me that those who refuse to follow the law shouldn't be in those positions, and we are a nation of laws, and those laws should be followed. And for those who refuse to follow the law, they need to be held accountable. And it remains to be seen exactly how they can be. San Francisco can be held accountable, but certainly, financial accountability would be one way to do that.
What would be the object of being a sanctuary city? I mean, basically, you're inviting criminals in. I can't for the life of me figure out, if I was mayor of San Francisco, why I would want anything to do with being a sanctuary city. How that would be good for the people that voted me in.
Well, it is hard to understand. It's certainly hard for me to understand when you think of the budget busting numbers that illegal immigration brings to localities all across, especially the Southwest United States, in terms of public safety, law enforcement. When you think about health care, education dollars, all of those things are borne by these localities and states, and that's why decent common sense people see this as a real problem. And not only are you harming the localities by encouraging these folks to come and to settle in the city, but you're also, I think, encouraging many of these illegal aliens who come to this country for economic reasons. You're encouraging them to do something that's illegal and often quite dangerous. And so it strikes me as a problem that's got to be solved, but it's going to take local leadership as well as leadership at the federal level.
Well, we're going to have to do something. Let's keep on the domestic scene before I move internationally. Obama's overtime edict. On paper, you say, okay, well, this makes sense. You're making $25,000. You're a manager at McDonald's. They're making you work overtime. They're not paying you for that. But he raised it to nearly $50,000. I mean, this is going to wreak havoc on some businesses, cost jobs. What do you make of it?
I think that what we need to do is make it as attractive as possible for businesses to open and to offer jobs in this country, and especially in Southside Virginia, as you mentioned. I represent an area of Virginia with some of the highest unemployment in the state, and we need to be doing everything we can to encourage job growth, and we shouldn't be doing anything that threatens job growth. And the bottom line is this: I believe that that we want employees to make as much money as possible. The sky is the limit. But I think when you force employers into government mandates that meddle with with the innate employer-employee relationship in terms of compensation, all you're doing is discouraging job growth, in my opinion. And so the people that I think, ironically, the people that the president claims he's trying to help are the people who end up getting hurt the worst or the most because the employer doesn't have to hire an employee, and if they can't afford it, then what they do is they just don't hire them, and then that means fewer jobs, not more.
Another Obama policy that makes no sense with Congressman Robert Hurt, Republican 5th District of Virginia. That's the South Side. Congressman, the Obamacare problem now is really going to hit home. This next round, insurance companies say, look for another, get this, 30 to 40% increase on those that don't have a subsidy and have independent insurance because they say, more sick people have signed up than we thought. Second thing they're saying is, now they're offering coverage for weight loss, which is also, people are taking advantage of that. That's driving the cost up. So like my insurance has already doubled. Now it's going to go up another 30%, and my deductible is $12,000. I don't have insurance, to be honest. I have catastrophic insurance for my family. I mean, where does this thing end?
Well, and then on top of that, you've got, on top of the problems that you already highlighted in terms of the skyrocketing premiums, deductibles, and copays, people have not been allowed to keep policies that they wanted that fits their family needs. But on top of that, what we're also going to have to brace for is when the employer mandate goes into effect, because most people in this country have traditionally gotten their insurance through their employer, and so when the employer mandate, which the president unilaterally, without any authority whatsoever, as we all remember, delayed because of the political blowback that he knew he was going to get. That's all coming at the beginning of next year, and when that shoe drops, you're going to see the exact same chaos that we saw when the individual mandate went into effect, and threw all those people off their policies. Now suddenly, people who again have counted on their employer-based health insurance, many of them are going to be basically in the street and end up being forced into Obamacare, which they probably don't want, but are going to be forced into it because the employers again can't afford the tremendous and unreasonable mandates that the health insurance law is putting on.
It's just unbelievable. It keeps getting worse. And I mean, look, if you're on Obamacare and you're getting a subsidy, I mean, you're fine because you're not paying for it. You're paying 10%. If you're anybody else, it's just getting worse. But the segment that's getting annihilated is independent people, entrepreneurs, and others that have to buy it on their own, that don't have group coverage. I mean, that's just it's the untold story of this whole thing. I want to go to the international scene with Congressman Robert Hurt, Republican 5th District, Virginia. Congressman, let's go to Cuba. Obama administration normalizing relations. Now the fight in the House in Congress is going to be over whether or not to open up embassies. So what do you think?
Well, I have real concern about all of it. I think that Congress, ultimately needs to make this decision. Certainly the president, under Article 2 of the Constitution, is given wide latitude in ordering our relationships with foreign countries, but I do think Congress needs to weigh in on this, and I'm not sure that there's a majority in Congress. I'm not in favor of normalizing a relationship with Cuba, and I would be surprised if there was a majority in the Congress that felt that was a good idea. The bottom line is that this has historically been a communist nation, and they do not stand for freedom and our values. And if you don't believe me, talk to the thousands of Cuban exiles that have come to this country for our freedom and have fled that country because of its repressive regime, a murderous regime over the years. And this is these decisions, while they may, the president may make them sound pretty. The bottom line is there are very important reasons for the decisions that have been made, and I don't think that Cuba has gotten to the place where we need to normalize relations.
Well, Marco Rubio, a U.S. Senator, Florida presidential candidate, says he's going to lead a filibuster to stop an embassy from opening here in the U.S. Is that something that could possibly work?
Certainly could bring pressure to bear on the situation, but one of the things we have to remember that we're dealing with is we're dealing with a president who doesn't care what. It's no secret that this president doesn't care what Congress thinks. He goes it alone. But that may create an opening to slow this down. But it's going to be difficult again because this president is, I think, very hard to deal with when it comes to the congressional presidential relationship.
Congressman Hurt, I got 2 minutes. Greece, what are your thoughts?
Well, I was very sorry to see that the Greeks rejected in the referendum the austerity measures that are clearly necessary in order for them to right their financial ship. It remains to be seen how much of an effect their collapse will have on the European Union and what that collapse could mean for the United States economy. We know in 2008 that when our financial disaster hit, that it bled over into Europe significantly, and it is my hope that we don't see that same dynamic here. I will say this, though. I think that it should be instructive to those of us who believe that we can spend $4 trillion a year, borrow $18 trillion in total, and then continue to borrow money every year to spend that $4 trillion, with the backdrop of $100 trillion in unfunded liabilities, future liabilities. It should be instructive to us that we can't keep doing this. Greece was a great nation at one time, and we are a great nation, and it's arrogant for us to think that we can spend in this way and somehow miraculously avoid the consequences of that behavior.
I tell you what, Congressman, if we don't do something, if we don't get change, we are going to go the way of Greece. Hopefully we can find our way out of it sooner rather than later, but no question, time is running out. We want to thank Congressman Robert Hurt for being with us. You want more information, go to hurt.house.gov, hurt.house.gov. And here's what you need to do. Sign up for his weekly newsletter. Comes out every week. Great piece, hurt.house.gov.